Hi, so I'm back with part two of this very controversial donor-conceived story that I left you with a cliffhanger on earlier today. So I'm not going to make you wait. I decided to go ahead and record it right now so that you can see and understand potentially what I see and what I understand about the donor conception world and those living with what we call an NPE. I'm going to reference that in a story that I'm going to tell you. So an NPE is not parent expected. When you take a DNA test and you find out you're donor conceived, or you find out that your dad's not your dad because mom had an affair, or whatever the circumstances of your birth were. So let's dive right in. We're going to use names in this story. So my client's name will be Julie and her donor will be Sam. So the reason that this really was a memorable event for me was the way that Sam spoke to my client. And I'm going to dive right in, and I'm going to be looking down because I made notes on this. So Sam began by saying he always dreaded this day would come. And I think that he knows, because he's a doctor, that this day was going to come because of the invention of at-home DNA testing. But then he goes into medical center promised him absolute confidentiality, and the legality of breaking that confidence is dubious. So although he says that the medical center promised him confidentiality, he questions the legality of Julie's contacting him, framing her search as an ethical gray area. But here's the thing. Promises made decades ago didn't account for the rise in consumer DNA testing. Julie didn't break the law. She followed the truth that was encoded in her own DNA. She felt this, right? And Julie, who is a psychologist, tells him that adults who had a non-paternity event have more depression, anxiety, and panic. The ability to openly discuss the discovery is a protective factor. And her point is clear. Secrecy and shame harm donor-conceived individuals far more than the truth ever could. Her letter serves as both a personal plea and a call for societal changes. And then Sam comes back and says, "My concept of family has more to do with those who care for you than any DNA-based sequences." See the tone of this letter? My family has much more to do with those who care for you than any DNA sequences. No one's asking for a family bond here. We're just asking for some ancestral information, some medical information, and if you would like, a friendship, because I share 50% of my DNA with you. And I have grandparents out there that more than likely had no choice in the decision that you made. Did you talk to them? Do they know that they have up to 50 grandchildren out here that they have no idea exist and that carry a part of their DNA with them? Didn't think so, Sam. So Sam's defensive tone and focus on promise of anonymity reflect a time when donor conception was shrouded in secrecy. And he writes to her, "My concept of family has more to do with those who care about you than any DNA-based sequences." And while this resonates with some, it dismisses Julie's reality. To her, this isn't about discrediting the family who raised her. It's about finding the missing pieces of her identity. Why does he downplay her right to know her origins? Could it be guilt, fear, or discomfort with the consequences of long ago decisions? And I want to pause for a minute. I'm not saying that what Sam did was wrong in making a donation so that a family could have a baby. So next, Julie shows some vulnerability, and she replies to Sam. She said, "It felt necessary to identify my donor." And so she did. And so I did, is what she said. I'm not sure anyone can appreciate what having a genetic identity even means until it's partially erased and replaced with a question mark. Julie's words here are profound. She writes, "It felt necessary, and so I did." For her, this isn't about a curiosity or a rebellion. It's about reclaiming a piece of herself that she lost with the discovery that she was donor conceived and had been lied to all of her life. Can you imagine growing up not knowing where half your traits, personality, or health history come from? That also happens when you have a DNA discovery. Half of our identity is is erased. And now we're left with the same questions. So you may have found out when you were young that you were donor conceived or you were adopted or that you had a different dad and you had all those questions, right? But that is what happens to us when we find out traumatically through a DNA test. And that was probably traumatic when you were told as well. Her letter beautifully articulates the deep void that donor anonymity can create. Sam comes back with saying, I fear that the DNA data being collected represents an early step in a eugenics agenda. So he shifts the conversation to his concerns about DNA testing. While fears about data privacy are valid, it feels like a diversion from Julie's core questions. This isn't about a dystopian future. It's about the present reality that donor-conceived individuals being denied basic truths about themselves. And then Julie had such a graceful closing. Because you wanted to avoid some college debt, there are these extra people in the world, influencing the world around them in a myriad of ways. Her closing is both gracious and poignant. Her tone acknowledges the weight of Sam's choices without condemnation. She's not asking for guilt or shame. She's asking for recognition for the humanity of the individuals created by his decision. And remember, Sam admitted to donating for 9 months a year, 3 or more times a week. And he thinks that with 60% efficiency, there's 50 or more siblings. Sam, you might want to go back to school for math. Everyone go follow Laura High. She talks about donor conception all the time. She's the donor conceived person of TikTok, but she's also on YouTube. Please follow Laura, Laura, High, High, and you will get an education. And the math isn't mathing here. I have a feeling, Julie, that you're going to have way more than 50 siblings. So, Julie and Sam's letter bring to light the complexities of donor conception, the personal struggles, the ethical dilemmas, and the systematic flaws. Julie's journey isn't unique. It's shared by countless others searching for their biological truth in a system that wasn't designed to support them. What do you think? Should the promise of donor anonymity still stand in today's society? In today's age of accessible DNA testing? Or should we prioritize the rights of donor-conceived individuals to know their origins? Shouldn't the donor conception industry be more child-centered, offering support to children navigating this unique set of circumstances? Don't even get me started with adoption, with the adoption industry. That's for another episode. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story to keep the conversation going. It's all about having communication and a conversation. And until next time, see you on the other side.